Thank you very much. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Luke Yankee, and I'm your host this evening for Conversations on Craft, and I am so thrilled to have you here for this very exciting evening. As some of you know, we've been doing these seminars for several months now, and this will be our last one until the fall, so I really feel like with these two incredible guests, we have saved the best for last. Now, for those of you who've been here before, you know that usually I come out and I read their credits and talk about that. Well, I'm going to do something a little different tonight. I actually have a very unique and somewhat peculiar relationship with these two gentlemen through my family. So to set the tone for the evening, I'm going to talk about that to introduce them. As some of you know, my mother was an actress by the name of Eileen Heckert, who was in the Theater Hall of Fame, and thank you. She thanks you as well. And she was in the Theater Hall of Fame, and she did a lot of work in television, won an Academy Award for the film Butterflies Are Free. And back in the days when she was doing a lot of television work, back in the 60s, she did an episode of Gunsmoke, the old Western TV series that was directed by Mark Rydell, long before he became a film director. Well, during one of the final days of shooting, there was a scene where she was playing a schoolmarm, and there was a scene where she had to jump off a covered wagon. Well, on one of the final shots, she fell and sprained her ankle quite badly. So the following week, Mark Rydell, as a get well present, sent her this very luxurious pink velour bathrobe. And it was a big, thick, lush, very expensive robe. And all the time that my brothers and I were growing up, this was the sick bathrobe, because it was so cuddly and cozy, and when you were sick, you got to wear Mom's very special pink bathrobe. Well, my brothers reached a certain age where they wouldn't be caught dead in a pink bathrobe. I didn't really mind it so much. But that's another story. So even though Mark Rydell went on to become this amazing film director who directed some of the greatest films of all time, I always thought of him as the man with the pink bathrobe. Now, Ed Asner, on the other hand, about 10 years later, my mother did several episodes of the Mary Tyler Moore Show, playing Mary's Aunt Flo, who was a hard-bitten newspaper woman who had an affair with Mary's boss, Lou Grant, which was played by Edward Asner. And there was a wonderful moment where Mary discovered that her favorite aunt and her beloved boss were having this affair. And it was a scene in a bar where my mother suddenly turns and plants a big, wet, sloppy kiss on Edward Asner. And Mary Tyler Moore did one of her famous deadpan takes where she sort of looked like she'd just been electrocuted and sort of went. And we had this picture in my parents' living room. Well, years later, I had the pleasure to direct Edward Asner in a production of Love Letters, and I was terrified to be directing the great Ed Asner. And I thought, my God, how am I going to get over my fear? How am I going to deal with this? Well, the way I dealt with the fear is that Ed knew I was the son of. So as I was introduced to him, I went up and I said, Ed, it is such a pleasure to meet you. I'm so honored to work with you. We have the most wonderful photograph in my parents' living room of you French kissing my mother. So, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, please welcome the man with the pink bathrobe and the man who French kissed my mother.